Hello, I'm Andrew Duncan and I want to welcome you to another Art of Living video. I'm going to talk about my favourite way of sharpening a knife, which is using the MinoSharp, which is my favourite because it's easy and it's reliable, works every time. But before I talk about that, we often get asked in the shops, when do I sharpen a knife? And I think the easy answer is when you lose the wow factor. It's particularly easy if you are cutting a tomato or something with a shiny skin on it, because then if the knife isn't really sharp, it'll slide off. And that is also a reminder that how a blunt knife is actually more dangerous than a sharp knife, because a sharp knife cutting into a tomato or anything which is peppers, another good example, where it's liable to skid off and possibly end up in your hand, is obviously dangerous. A sharp knife won't do that, it'll just cut into the skin of the fruit without a problem. So sharp knives are to be recommended. MinoSharp is my top recommendation of a handheld sharpener. There are other ways of doing it, but the handheld sharpener is the easiest. There are good and bad handheld sharpeners. This is one of the good ones. MinoSharp, it comprises of 4 parts. There's 2 parts that you will be, when you use one, intimately aware of, which is the lid here and the wheels. But the 2 wheels themselves are obviously separate parts, and eventually they can wear out and you can replace them. We sell replacements. The pink is the fine wheel, the white is the coarse wheel. And if you haven't sharpened your knife for a long time, the white one is the one to use first, and the pink second. When you do replace those wheels, for whatever reason, make sure when you push them back in again that they both run freely. The MinoSharp is a sharpener that works with water, and you can probably see here that there's a little tray that these wheels sit in, and the idea is that you fill that tray with water. I just run it under the tap normally, but as I've got no tap here today, I'm using a jug of water. Then you put the lid on, and again, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a number 1 slot and a number 2 slot. And if you have a knife which is getting quite blunt, you'd use the number 1 slot first, and you just put the knife in and run it backwards and forwards like that. You don't put any pressure on it, you let the knife and the sharpener do the work. Just run it backwards and forwards, and the amount of times you have to do it is going to be dependent on how blunt the knife is. But once you've done that, you can then hone it or just finish it off, polish it with the pink wheel, which is a finer material. They're both ceramic, but the pink is a finer grit. Now I'm not putting any pressure on, I'm just allowing the weight of the knife mainly to do the job. And that is it. That is the job done on sharpening a knife. One way of testing them is the paper test, and when it's sharp, it should cut into a piece of paper like that without any effort at all. And if you didn't get that on the camera, let me just do it again. You get a nice clean action. There's no catching feeling on the blade itself, and you know it's sharp. And of course when you use it, you'll know it's sharp. The MinoSharp, great little sharpener. Thank you for watching.